Hi everyone, welcome to Everyday, your daily stop for virtual reality content. My name is Dee, and today I'm going to be checking out one of the most celebrated entries of the Oculus Mobile VR Jam. It is called the Night Cafe, and I will be running it on the Samsung Gear VR. Now, the Night Cafe is intended to be a VR tribute to the works of Vincent Van Gogh. In particular, it is centered around one of Vincent Van Gogh's most famous paintings called Le Café de Nuit, the Night Cafe. And this cafe. So Vincent Van Gogh painted almost all of his paintings from life, just whatever he was looking at. He reproduced it in his paintings, and so this was an actual cafe where he was renting a room. He was staying, somewhere else in the house, and he would come down here to where the people were hanging out. Night cafes in France at the time, they were open all night. They were places where, for example, they had kind of a seedy reputation. They were places where like drunkards and prostitutes would hang out, and so they had this kind of air of desperateness and loneliness to them. And he was trying to capture that when he painted this painting with these really bold contrast and angry colors, like the red walls and the green ceiling and the scintillating yellow lights of the spirals of yellow around them. So that's kind of what Van Gogh was going for in this. And there are several other of Van Gogh's works featured in this. And I think it's suitable that they are being featured together in the same experience because Van Gogh painted them in the first place as a group. They were part of his... He was planning to create a studio there in Arles, where this cafe is located, and he was going to paint a bunch of things. He painted a bunch of paintings for this studio. He was going to hang them up on the walls all around the studio in the various rooms of this house that he had rented out called the Yellow House. And he was really excited about this studio. He invited an artist that he admired, Paul Gauguin, to stay with him, and he had just painted all these paintings and put all over the house. He thought he was going to create a little utopian artist collective. Never quite got off the ground. Very sad story, but at the very least, he left behind a lot of very cool paintings for us to check out inside this immersive world. So a little bit about Mackenzie Cully, the developer behind this. It was created by a single developer who is an artist, and he's done a variety of work. He's worked in animation and modeling in 3D. He's done web design. He's done a few live action short films. So he has a very diverse array of talents, very much a generalist. And he won the highest prize, the Platinum Prize for apps and experiences in the Mobile VR Jam, which has a $100,000 prize associated with it. And on top of that, he won one of the community awards for $10,000, just based on the votes of the people who have been watching the Jam. And on top of that, he has been featured in the press for this application. So it's one that a lot of people are excited about. I really wanted to feature for a long time. There's going to be an Oculus Rift DK2 version coming down the pipe. If you are waiting for that, just hang on and it will come around. But for now, I just want to check it out as soon as I can and jump right into the Gear VR version. So, without further ado, let's check out Mackenzie Cully's The Night Cafe, a tribute to Vincent Van Gogh. Alright, here we are. It says tap and hold the touchpad to move forward, swipe up or down to crouch or stand up. So very basic controls. Here's the loading screen. The loading screen is stereoscopic. It just says the Night Cafe, and behind that you see a blue swirl. Behind that, another blue swirl. They're all at different stereoscopic layers, which is a nice effect. It's usual on Gear VR to show a logo hanging in blackness during the loading because that enables the asynchronous time warp to be completely transparent, because even if there's some black around the borders creeping in, you won't be able to see it because most of the scene is black anyway around the borders. And there's usually quite a bit of frame dropping during the loading screen, especially if I am recording at the time. So there's a little bit of judder if I move my head back and forth. Sometimes you'll see the black creep into the middle if I move my head like this and just chop the logo in half. Right now it seems to be behaving. So keep in mind, I am not an art historian, but I've learned a little bit about this for this video. So this is the original painting of the Night Cafe by Vincent Van Gogh. And you can see the people in the corners there. This guy standing by the table. There's a billiard table. Vincent Van Gogh's signature was in the corner. And now we are inside the application. So you can hear right away there's this piano music going. I have failed to identify where this piano music is from. I don't know if it was contemporary to Vincent Van Gogh's time or if it was some kind of tribute that was later created for him. If we turn all the way around, we can actually see the door of the cafe behind us. I don't know if this is what it actually looked like. Unlike some other projects like the Titanic project, this is not intended to be a historically accurate recreation of the cafe, Cafe de Gare, which is what this cafe was called. It's more just intended to be a tribute to Vincent Van Gogh's paintings and Vincent Van Gogh's life. So you can see the people who are in the corners, the patrons of the cafe have vanished in this version. I believe that's just because there was not enough resources to render them or not enough time to model them. Maybe they'll come around in a later version. And you can see how the swirls around the lights, which were a very distinctive, very, very distinctive Van Gogh embellishment in the original work, have been animated in this version. And I think that's really appropriate because, let's get a little closer. I'm just going to hold down my touchpad. You can hear me walking. These are actually billboards. They rotate as you move your location in the room to face you. And I think it's really appropriate because the swirls in the original painting always gave you a sense of motion and activity in the first place. And so this is just kind of taking that one step further and turning it into some real motion. You can see the wine glasses, the bottles. This guy, I believe in the original painting, was just a waiter. So he was kind of the one figure in the painting who was not involved in the debauchery. He's just staff. And he's just standing around here. Some animations were added for him, so he's kind of looking around. Sometimes he'll put his hand up on the billiard table. There's kind of it's an interesting juxtaposition because there's there's flowers, there's wine, there's a billiard table, there's all these fun things in this cafe. And even in the original painting, when there were more people, nobody was using any of these things. They were just slumped over at their tables being miserable. And so it's a good representation of kind of the atmosphere that Van Gogh is going for in representing this place, because they have the option to have fun. The table is right there, but they choose not to engage with that. And this is actually based on more than one painting of Vincent Van Gogh. The Night Cafe is obviously the primary one. But if we go back here into the back room, which in the original painting was just kind of obscured in the shadows, there's no telling what was back here. We'll see some other things. There's a little stairway to the basement and a side door. And here's a chair. Now this chair, believe it or not, is another one of the most famous paintings of Vincent Van Gogh. It's called Van Gogh's Chair. It's meant to be a representation of his own chair, I believe, from the Yellow House. And it has his pipe sitting on it, has a little rag sitting on it. And so this is a 3D recreation or remodeling of that chair. And let's see if we can see out these windows here. Nothing much to see out of here. There's another house over there. When I'm standing by a window, I always wish that I had proper positional tracking so I could lean my head kind of out the window or at least around to see around the window. But because I have positional tracking, when I do this, it doesn't work. It doesn't, from my perspective, the house is moving with me and the window is moving with my head so that I can't see past it. From your perspective, it just looks like nothing is happening. If I didn't mention this before, if you have a DK2, you want to see what this looks like in DK2 right now, you can watch my video, full screen in extended mode to get some idea of what it's like. Notice there are no rotation controls in this game. You actually have to rotate using your body. And that's always the most comfortable way to do it. It's a little bit awkward with something like DK2 or the consumer Oculus Rift where you're wired and the wires can wrap around you. But when you're on Gear VR, you can sit in a rotating chair and you can just spin yourself around as many times as you want, and there's no problem. So for Gear VR, it can actually be a really reasonable choice. Of course, that depends where you're using your Gear VR. If you're using it on a plane, you're probably not going to be turning around 180 degrees. That would be awkward. So I do appreciate when Gear VR applications like Darknet give the option to turn all the way around. Notice there's also some black smear down here in the basement. When I look up and down on these steps, I see it smearing across the steps. That's just a side effect of the screen hardware on the Gear VR. Black smear has been much reduced in the consumer Rift. A lot of people say they don't even notice it anymore, so I'm not too worried about that. I don't know about future mobile VR though. It is cool to see this chair from another perspective. Like, you walk in, Mackenzie has set up the scenes so that when you first encounter them, they resemble the angle that the painting was painted from in the first place. But then you have the option to explore them from a variety of other angles, which I think is really cool. Alright, let's keep going here. This piano, as we will see, is actually diegetic, meaning it is being played by an actual guy at an actual piano here in the scene. I don't know if this piano is based on one of the works of Van Gogh. I was not able to find such a work, or if it's just in the style of Van Gogh. But on top of the piano, you can see some sunflowers in a vase. The sunflowers actually are one of the most famous works of Van Gogh, and they are from the same collection as of decoration paintings as the Night Cafe. And there, sitting in that chair, is Van Gogh himself. He's hanging out, listening to the music, smoking his pipe. Van Gogh, this is his appearance in this application is actually based on one of his most famous self-portraits that he painted himself. It's kind of a combination of a few self-portraits. So this one with this image with the blue blazer, I believe was one he painted later in his life, after he had already left Arles. And he did not have his pipe in this painting, but he had his pipe in several other self-portraits, so it's not unreasonable. Notably, I believe this one was painted at a time, so when he lived in Arles, when he was staying at the Night Cafe, he had not yet mutilated his right ear. So, as you can see, his right ear is intact and perfectly fine. But I believe this portrait with this outfit was from a later time in his life when he had already lost that ear. And so it was actually painted from this other side over here. So this is roughly what the self-portrait looks like. If you look at it like this, it was from this angle. And the animations are really nice. I like how this whole scene has this really somber atmosphere. You can see Vincent's signature there on the sunflowers. And it makes it a suitable tribute. There's no dialogue, there's no commentary other than, of course, my own commentary here. And the whole scene has been done in the style of Van Gogh. I feel like Mackenzie probably had to create some of these himself. Like, this is not just taking Van Gogh's paintings and slapping them into VR. There's a lot of modeling work that had to happen here. There are a lot of new pieces of this environment that were just not painted in the original scene that had to be inferred or recreated by the artist. And I think he did a great job of emulating the style where it was necessary. And you can see Van Gogh keeps walking up to this window and looking outside. So let's see what he's looking at. So out there you can see a blue hotel, and up in the sky, swirls in the sky, based of course on Van Gogh's most famous painting, Starry Night, which was full of swirls in the sky. And just like the swirls on the lights, Mackenzie has embellished these swirls with animations to make them feel more alive. And I think it's really impressive. Again, I want to use positional tracking here on this window, but I can't. And it's just a beautiful scene. It's a beautiful tribute, and it's very small. You know, it's the kind of thing that one person could reasonably do in a month, as was necessary during this VR jam. But it still turned out very well. It's appropriate scope, but it's perfectly executed, and and the controls are nice to use. They're very comfortable. You know, most people don't like having locomotion walking around in VR, but when you're walking around really slowly like this, it's actually reasonably okay. The main point is you want to keep the vection down. You want to keep the vection to a limited... the vection is the movement of the scene past in your field of vision. And as long as you keep that reasonably low, even so indoor environments tend to have the most trouble with walking around in VR because they increase the vection compared to an outdoor environment where everything is far away, which decreases vection because things are moving past you much more slowly due to parallax. But because you're moving very slowly, I think this is turning out pretty good in terms of comfort. Although I'm not the best person to judge that. I would love to hear from someone who's prone to VR sickness what their experience has been with the night cafe. You can see everything's on a loop here. I don't believe the animation of the pianist's hands lines up in any way with the music, but that's fine. It serves its purpose. And the same animation keeps repeating with him smoking a while, then getting up and looking out the window. Starry Night, by the way, was also one of his later paintings. It was not painted during this period. I believe it was painted while he was incarcerated, while he was in a clinic for a psychotic episode. So that happened later on. So this is kind of putting together a lot of different paintings from different parts of his life and putting them all into a common scene together. So I would love to hear from you guys who have tried this, what your thoughts were about it, how it felt to you to be in this environment, whether you felt like it recreated Van Gogh's conception of what this cafe was like with its debauchery and so on, or whether you feel like it was more of a peaceful tribute. For you art historians, if there's anything cool that you saw in here that I missed that are representative of the life of Van Gogh. And that's about all I want to say about this. So this has been the Platinum app/experience winner from the Oculus VR Jam, and I'm hoping to feature more works from the Oculus Mobile VR Jam. I'm hoping to see this work on DK2 pretty soon. Let me know what other VR Jam works you want to see me feature. Oh, look at the detail on this guy. Wow. And the motions are so natural. I wonder if mocap were used for this, or if it was just done kind of meticulously in a PC editor. Alright. Anyway, so I will see you guys next time. Let me know what else you want me to feature. And that's all for today. Everybody have a great every day.